Hi, I'm Craig Foster. I'm the founder of DynAlign Golf, and today I'd like to talk about a video I watched recently from a World Golf Hall of Fame member talking about putting. I think some of the instruction that was given could be a little bit misleading. First of all, they're talking about uh, not moving the wrists and not allowing the wrist to move during the putting stroke, and that's to eliminate this excessive cupping and that you usually see in inexperienced players adds a lot of loft, and obviously that's not good for your putting stroke. But not to allow wrist motion during your putting stroke is going to rob your sense of feel for distance control. You know, we're all used to throwing balls, tossing balls with our dominant hand, and there's a little bit of wrist motion in that. Just try it. Pick up a ball and try to throw it without having any wrist motion, and you just right away you can feel how much more difficult that would be to give the right amount of force. And in putting, distance control, force application, really important. So there can be a little bit of this wrist motion, and there really needs to be a little bit. It's a slight amount. It can be very difficult to feel this, but you can measure it on devices such as Hack Motion. And I think another thing that needs to be explained is what happens at the wrist joint. It allows this uh, it, cupping and bowing of the wrist and cocking and uncocking of the wrist. That's this motion, and then the cupping and bowing. That's what happens at the wrist joint. But as far as rotation of the club face, that comes from the elbow joint. And the elbow joint, that's where the radius and ulnar bones connect, the two bones in your forearm. As you're standing there, in this video, they recommended just letting your arms hang naturally from your side. You'll see this in a lot of putting instruction. In that position, these bones are crossed and they're vulnerable. That's in the most vulnerable position because they can easily rotate uh, either clockwise or counterclockwise, and it's very difficult to feel this, and that's going to control the club face angle. So during the stroke, if there's any motion in this joint at all from the elbow joint, then that can cause misdirection. So uh, when the two bones are supinated, when your hand is supinated, those bones will rotate and become parallel. And in that position, then they come to a stopping point, an end range, and they come to a hard end range where they will not go any further. But we want to avoid going into that hard end range because that's where you can get some you can injure yourself. So we want to go to, in our DynAlign system, we go to a soft end range. So rather than letting our arms hang straight, we're going to go into this supinated position to a soft end range only during our putting stroke, which with the DynAlign system, it really stabilizes that club face angle, which is really important. The other major point in this video that was talked about was as far as standing with your feet shoulder width apart, about letting your arms hang naturally, and then just making an arm and shoulder stroke. Sounds like a good idea, and you can putt well that way, but there is the shoulder joints have the most range of motion of any joint in the body, and it's very easy for the shoulder joints to move even independently and cause the club path to change and miss your putt, become misaligned. So those are a couple of really important distinctions to make during your putting stroke. You can certainly putt well standing in a neutral position, but it's also it's vulnerable to all kinds of motion. And so in the DynAlign system, we're addressing those issues in the wrist joint to stabilize the wrist joint to prevent this excessive cupping, but we still allow a little bit of motion for feel, but then we stabilize the shoulder joint to get a nice stable arc putting stroke. So we're having much more consistency in the alignment of the club face at impact. So rather than aligning the club face first as you see most players do on the tours. We aim the club face as the final step. Once we have gotten our joints stabilized, then we can have more confidence that our club face alignment at address is going to imitate that club face angle and be the club face angle at impact. So if you would like to learn more about the DynAlign system, you can visit my website at DynAlignGolf.com. I have a lot of videos on YouTube, Craig Foster Golf, and then there's Instagram and Twitter at DynAlign Golf. So thanks for watching and good luck with your putting.